In this video, I'm going to teach you how to make 3 main types of melodic techno bass for your tracks like this. Hi, my name is Vlad and I help music producers to turn their passion of making music into a real business without spending years on figuring things out. Do you want to become a full-time music producer, grow a loyal fan base, and make your tracks sound as good as your favorite artist tracks on any system? If that is the case, click the link down below, register for my coaching program, and I'm gonna help you to take your music to the next level. And if you still have any questions regarding the coaching program, or you would like to talk to me one-on-one, there's one more link down below. Just book a time for a free strategy call and let's talk. So no more talking, and let's start with the tutorial. Alright guys, so I want to start with the types of bass you can find in any electronic dance music track. And we have only 3 main types of bass. So the first one is a sustained bass that looks something like this, right? There's going to be the sustained bass. Let's pretend that this is the grid, right? This is the grid. And it's going to be sustained bass. The second type of the bass is a rolling bass, so it's going to look something like this, right? And basically here is the kick and here is the new kick. So this bass can be 1/16, can be 1/8, or 1/8 with dot, 1/4, basically any type of grid you can use for this kind of bass. And the last bass is the offbeat bass. So basically it's gonna look something like this. You have the beat and it's gonna be here. So this is gonna be the offbeat. So basically you will just take this bass, the free space that you have here, so, and this is gonna look like this. So this is the free space in between these the beats, the hits of the kick. So I hope it makes sense. And now let's start with the main bass. And now I'm going to break down the patch for you guys. So it's not that complicated as you might think. So the first oscillator is basically just a saw, and I've detuned the oscillator. As you can see here, you can use unison and up to 16 voices. I like using 4 voices, and here you can detune your oscillators, the voices, inside the oscillator. Here you blend detuned and undetuned oscillators. I usually stick to the middle, about 50-60%, and it sounds like this, just one oscillator. And you can hear that it's already sounding nice. For the second oscillator, I've used this basic MG, like a Moog, I don't know, kind of waveform, square-ish, and I have 7 voices here, so it's slightly more detuned. Don't forget to set your bass in mono legato, because we don't want polyphony for our bass. And one more cool thing you can do with the unison, you can select the super saw detune mode. It's usually it's really good for Reese bass, like this detuned pad kind of bass, and together they sound like this. And on the filter section, I've added some fatness, I think, I don't know. The drive, without the fat. So you can really add power with these knobs. And I have envelope 2, which controls the cutoff of the filter, and the main volume envelope is, yeah, it's pretty simple, straightforward, just envelope with 100% sustain. And the decay time, I think we can make shorter, because we don't need decay when we have a lot of sustain. And basically that's it. You can also add some portamento like glide. And one more thing I've done is the sub oscillator. I've added a bit of sub to make sure we have the mono sub layer for this bass. So without the oscillators, yeah, we have a nice sub. And let's take a look at the effects section. Yeah, it might look complicated, but I'm going to break it down for you guys. Really basic bass sound design. So the first thing is a compressor. I'm doing parallel compression, so let's bypass all the effects. And without the compressor, so basically the purpose of parallel compression is to mix the processed sound and unprocessed. So this is going to be just the raw bass, right? And this is going to be compressed bass. And the raw bass, let's say it looks something like this. It has some dynamics and it looks like this. And the processed, on the other hand, it looks really flat, almost like, yeah, let's pretend that it's gonna be flat. And when you combine these two into one, you get both. You get the raw unprocessed sound, and you get really flat sound. And the result of this, you get a really nice bass. So you are not destroying the dynamics of your bass. You still keep the original dynamics of the unprocessed bass, but you still mix the very processed, the very compressed sound, and you will get a nice bass. So for example, if I use 100% without compressor, and this is with the parallel. So you can really hear that we get more dynamic range when we mix very squashed sounds with the original one. The next thing, guys, is the distortion. So if I crank the drive knob, so basically we are just adding more to the top and more harmonics, so the sound is more audible and present. So the next thing is chorus, and chorus is basically just to make our bass sound wider, more interesting, more complex. Without. And the hyper dimension, it's basically just the highest effect. And yeah, basically that's it. It's just one more filter, but it's really simple, guys. As you can see, you just need to learn how a synthesizer works, the oscillators, the filter sections, the envelopes, and the effects. All right, guys, so let's break down the second rolling bass, and it sounds like this. So I'm gonna start with the first oscillator, and it sounds like this, just the same saw. The second oscillator. And I'm doing some FM frequency modulation from the second oscillator without that. And I'm just applying a tiny bit of FM modulation and some noise. And as you guys can see, the envelope 2 controls the filter cutoff. So you just drag and drop this here, and you can control any parameter. And the same thing, the drive, the fat to make the bass fatter and more powerful. And on the effect section, it's even simpler than the first one. So I'm just applying some distortion. And the same parallel compression. And basically that's it, and without the effects. And one more important thing, guys, when you are not making a wide Reese bass with sustained notes, set your random knob to 0, because otherwise it will just start with a random position. So you can see here that it will start from a different point each time you trigger a note. Alright, and the last bass for today, guys, is an offbeat bass that plays on the offbeat, obvious, and it sounds like this. So let's break down the patch itself. You can see that it has a lot of sustain because it's an offbeat bass. It doesn't play at the same time as the kick hits. So basically, let's start with the first oscillator. The waveform is called mellow but unstable, and it sounds like this. Yeah, pretty fat on its own. Here you can see the fat, the drive, the same filter section, modulating the filter cutoff with the envelope number 2. And let's turn on the second oscillator, and as you guys can see, I have FM modulation. So without the FM and with FM, it sounds a bit more interesting in my opinion. And the last thing is the sub oscillator. So as you can see here, I am using this sub. And with the both of these oscillators. Yeah. For the effects section, it's pretty much the same processing as I have done with the other two basses. So it's distortion, the compression, the parallel compression. So let's go one by one. Parallel compression. And the hyperdimension, basically harsh effect. And the last effect is the filter. I'm controlling it with the envelope number 2. So as you can see, guys, it's not that complicated. You just need to understand how a synthesizer works, some sound design basics, oscillators, filters, envelopes, FM modulation, etc. So if you want to learn how to transform the ideas you have in your head for tracks, for sound design, maybe you can't make bass sounds, you can't make lead sounds, etc., just go ahead, click the link down below, register for my coaching program, and I'm going to help you to transform your passion of making music into a real business. If you still have any questions regarding the coaching program, just go ahead, click the link down below, book a time for free strategy call, and let's talk. So that was it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.